Hi everyone, it's Rebekah from Uncorked Canvas. Today we're going to be experimenting with live stream and we're just kind of working out all the kinks today. So bear with us with any weird sound things or anything happening, and feel free to engage with us in the comments section. Let us know if you're having any trouble seeing or hearing me. And just because this is a trial run, I don't want you guys to get bored at home. So I'm still going to go through a whole painting on the table in front of me down here. And this one is inspired by our newest series that we just released, our mini series, which is the Winter Wonderland series. And this painting series are little mini paintings and they're 8x10 canvases, so they're really fun and simple to do. And then if you wanted to buy just one of them for $25, you get access to all 5 of the video instructions, or you can save 25 bucks if you get all 5 of them ordered. So you can get a series and do all of them or just one of them and your favorite. So this is what this painting today is inspired by. I want to do another winter scene and have some fun with this, but I'll keep it a little bit simple. And again, this is just to work out the kinks with the live stream. So we'll just be kind of having fun with this, and then next week, starting every single week, we're gonna have paint and sip, more actual instruction and step-by-step. So again, guys, feel free to engage with us in the comment section. We'd love to hear from you and see what you think, and if you're having fun, and if you want to see anything special from us, we are happy to be accommodating. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and dive into the painting. We'll work out the bugs. We've got Brad behind the camera over here, and so if you're chatting with him, he might repeat some questions to me. If you guys have anything, if you want personal details or anything like that about me, you can go ahead and ask and we'll see about answering them. So let's just have some fun and paint today. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and show you my palette. So I've got white, I have what would probably be a cadmium yellow, and then I've got like a primary red right here, and then I've got black, I have cerulean blue, and then I have phthalo blue. So I'm gonna go ahead and start on my painting. It's gonna be a very simple kind of winter scene with skies back here, a couple layers of mountains and some trees, and just a little bit of snow in the foreground. So we're gonna start in the background with some pinks and yellows, and it's gonna be really pretty, and then we'll work our way forwards with those hills in the foreground. So I've got my largest brush. I've just got about 3 different sizes right here that I'm working with today. So this one is a pointed round brush, and then I've got a couple just flats of a couple different sizes here, and there should be plenty to do this painting. So we're gonna start with the largest brush first. I'm gonna go ahead and get that wet in my water real quick. And I want to make sure I flex that at the bottom of my cup, and then I will wipe off the drips on my paper towel. So this is a painting I've never done before. All paintings start out that way, I guess, but this one I have not taught before. So if I zone out and start painting without saying anything, it's just because I'm enjoying the painting process and I'm discovering things and maybe making accidents that I don't want to tell you about. But I'll try to be clear when I make an accident and tell you guys, don't do this at home, if you decide to do it at home. All right, so again, I'm gonna start from the background, work with my sky. And I'm gonna start with slightly purple color. So I wanna grab a little bit of my red, move it over to my blue. Either one of my blues will do, but I'll go with a darker one. I'll pull in a tiny bit of that blue, and it's gonna tint the color very quickly. We've got this really, really deep red to start out with, and I wanna brighten it up just a tiny bit. So I'm gonna go to the edge of my pile of white, stir into that color. And I can see now that it's way more of a pink, so I can start pulling in more of my blue and kind of experiment with that color. This will be kind of the darkest part of my sky, and I'll lighten it up as I go downwards. So again, any comments that you want to leave? I know this is a Sunday afternoon and you might not want to engage too much. I'd like to be laying on a couch and maybe painting laying on a couch. That'd be fun. Can you imagine the mess? Yes, I can. All right, maybe not. But if you guys have any questions or feedback, we would love to hear from you guys. And we're so excited to start doing live stream paint and sip events. So if there's any kind of specific kind of paintings you want to see, or any paintings from our gallery that you want to see us do live for you guys, we would love to get involved and hear from you. So just a strip of that up at the top. I'll go ahead and do a quick rinse out of my brush. It doesn't have to be completely clean for this next color. And then I'm going to grab some white, move it closer to my red. I'm going to make another kind of pink shade. But now I want to put a tiny bit of yellow into it. It's not quite salmon, but it's a warm pink now. And I'm going to start underneath this color, do a long strip of that color, and then my brush will go half in to both of those colors, and the more you brush back and forth, the smoother that transition will be. Okay, so that's where I'll kind of leave that for right now. We can always blend into it, and we're doing wet and wet, so we want to make sure that we go into the next color as soon as possible. Now this one I want to clean out a little bit more thoroughly, so I'm going to make sure there's no paint in there. And if the water comes out clear on my paper towel, I have a clean brush. I also tend to go onto my brush afterwards and pull any water droplets off so they don't drip down onto my painting or like onto my hand, which annoys me later on. I'm going to start with some white, put it near my yellow. I'm going to put a tiny bit of yellow in there. And this I'm going to start at the bottom of my sky. So I want to kind of divide my sky about a quarter of the way down my canvas, start at the very bottom of it, and start painting upwards to join in with that color. And then I'm going to try to get blended in with that pink by brushing half in and half out. And then you can travel up into each of those if you want to bring more or less of those colors in. I'm going to brighten up my sky just a little bit with just pure white at the bottom. And then I'll take this all the way up as well. Now if you leave brushstrokes showing through, it's just going to look a little bit like clouds coming through, so don't fight it too much. It'll just look like there's a little bit of more interest and fun stuff in the sky. So I'm not going to try to smooth it out too much. I want to leave a little bit of cloud texture in there. I hope everyone is excited to be in 2021. You made it. You survived 2020. You should be very proud of yourself. Very excited to be here. Getting the chance to make art. First thing to do in the year. I think one of the first news articles of the year, though, was like a legitimate news article about a UFO crashing into the water, though, so I think that kind of checks out for the transition. So I'm cleaning up my brush every time I want to get a pure color, one that's not tainted by any of the pinks or anything. I'm going to brighten up the bottom of my sky just a little bit more. And so in order to get the paint to go on thick, rather than gouging out the paint that is still wet, what you can do is kind of load up your brush and then lay it flat on your canvas, and that way it won't really pull the other colors as much. So you can get a thicker coating on and get pure colors that way. Again, we're working out the kinks, so I'm going to talk to Brad just a little bit every once in a while, and if you guys have any questions, feel free to share them. And if something's going horribly wrong on your end, we want to know about it. All right, I'm just going to deepen the purple up on the top because I want to. And while this is still wet, it'll still blend, but it's getting dry pretty fast, especially with the heat going. So you want to leave it alone sooner than later, and you can always do a second layer even easier once it's dry. Mine is going to dry pretty quick, so I don't want to go too crazy. So I'm using acrylic paints. They are very, very fast drying. That's why we love them. We can layer on top almost immediately. You can even dry them with a blow dryer, which I will do in just a second. And so these are really, really fun to blend. And you can layer right on top as soon as you decide you want to change anything once it is dry. All right, I'm going to do a quick blow dry, so we're going to mute real quick. A little dry break. It'll be a fast one. All right, we just did a quick blow dry break. So I just want to make sure the white where I'm gonna put the mountains is totally dry down here. So I'm just gonna let this dry just a little bit. So I'll be able to jump right into the next set of mountains, which is a little bit purpley. So let's go ahead and get started on that. I'm gonna grab my medium-sized brush and I'm gonna go ahead and get that wet first. Let me switch brushes real quick, 1 second. And I'm back. Miracle. All right, so I'm gonna start with my medium-sized brush. This one's actually like totally clean and nice looking. I probably should have started with this. And you can mix whatever purple that you want to. I'm gonna go with a darker purple and more bluish. So I'm gonna start with some blue, add a little bit of red to it. And we're gonna do some more wet into wet. So we wanna work quickly with this as well, more or less quickly. Still take your time. So this can be so dark just on its own, so we can't really tell what we're mixing until we pull a little bit of white into it. So let's go ahead and do that now. You can see that's like blue. So let's go ahead and pull in a little bit more red. I want a little bit darker than that. You can kind of do these in whatever color. If you want to just pure blue back there, you can do it in any color that you want to. If you want to, you can experiment with your cerulean. Cerulean is a really beautiful color. It's really a warm blue, so it's got little bits of yellow in it. So it's really fun to mix with and experiment with. All right, let's try this out. I don't hate this color, let's try it. So these mountains are gonna go kind of overlap into the sky just a little bit. And they can be absolutely any shape that you want them to be, rather than kind of trying to carve out exactly this way with your brush. Sometimes it's easier to take the corner of it and sketch that way. And that kind of pushes the paint. I'm gonna keep it a little bit taller on the left-hand side and kind of slope downwards, but keep things kind of bumpy. And I want to start blending this down into a more pale color. So I'm only going to take this purple down a little ways, and then I have to switch to my white in order to have it blend and fade out. And we're trying to create a little bit of an atmospheric look, and that's by making everything kind of fade out as it goes downwards. So if you're ever wondering why your mountains don't look quite right, it might be because you didn't add any atmosphere. A little fade out to kind of foggy look. It shows more distance the more atmosphere you put into it. All right, I'm gonna wipe off the extra paint. You can even do a quick clean out. And I'm gonna go ahead and actually do this with my bigger brush because it's easier to get quick coverage with a larger brush. And I don't want a lot of water in this for this bit because I don't want to water down the paint. So I'm gonna try to squeeze it all out. And then I'm just gonna pick up pure white because I know so much of the purple is gonna get pulled down anyway. I'm gonna start right underneath that. Try to get some good coverage here. And same thing, where we're going to kind of go half in and half out, but I'll do a little bit more pulling downwards because I want to create a little bit of a mountain texture down below. So what I'm gonna do is start going up the mountain and pulling the purple down. I even turn my brush on its side, like so. And that's gonna create kind of this texture of mountainside where it's gonna have little bits of bumps and earth kind of coming downwards, catching the mist a little bit differently. So I wanna leave quite a few of my brush strokes showing. And if you added too much white, not a problem, go ahead and bring it down, fade it out, and then we'll pull in a little bit more purple up top. All right, so I'm gonna do a little bit of that purple and then push back into the white just a little bit more and let those mixtures show and let your brush strokes show, and that's gonna create that kind of mountainous hill sort of look. A good thing to do is kind of start your brush up in the purple and then start as if this mountain is, or a hill is gonna be cutting in front, and that creates a good amount of distance in front of that hill in the foreground. And you're just gonna drag it down and switch between short choppy brush strokes and long ones. And this is just the first layer of hills. We are gonna have another one in front, so this isn't the end game. You don't have to worry about it being perfect. We've got more coming up in front. And once it's dry, we can always go right back on top and add more if we need to. Just to keep things interesting, I'll go ahead and blow dry this in just a second again, just to get the bottom of the mountain all finished. When we do paint and sip, I'll give you guys more of a break. And I think everything has been working out just fine with the live stream. Everything looks good, so we're pretty much ready to start scheduling events. You should see our first event scheduled for next week up on the calendar. We'll post it, and you'll see the painting that comes with that. We should have a kit that goes with it that you could purchase if you want to have all the supplies ready to go. But then we'll also let you know what you need. You'll see events posted very soon, and we'll dive into that next week. We're really excited. All right, so I'm just gonna do a blow dry at the bottom of the mountains here. It'll just take a second, and I'll be right back. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the next step. So the next step is going to be the next mountain or hillside in the painting. And we want this to be a little bit of a warmer blue because with the atmosphere, the closer things are to you, the more yellow and the more warmth there's going to be in them. And then at the distance, there's gonna be more blue and they're gonna be a little bit cooler. And that shows a good amount of depth in the painting. So the next step is going to be creating the last little hillside. And then we finally get to do the bottom with a little bit of trees down below. All right, so let's get started. I'm gonna do my medium-sized brush again, my flat medium-sized brush. I'm gonna go ahead and do a good clean out of that because I'm not looking for any red in it right now. So, you know, just kind of flex at the bottom of your cup, make sure that water gets flushed all the way through. Clear water on your paper towel. It means you've got a clean brush. And your water can look this dirty and still be doing its job because there's not enough pigment there to still tint your brush. All right, so this one, I'm gonna use my cerulean and then a tiny, tiny bit of black just to make it not quite as bright. And then I'll pull that down into some white in the same exact way. So this one's not as mountainous, it's gonna be more hillside. So I'm gonna start a little bit up into that previous color so that there's no canvas showing underneath it. And then I'm just gonna kind of bring it over here, fill in another edge of this color. What I love about these little canvases also is you just don't have to mix as much paint. What's so hard about big paintings, I never managed to mix enough paint. I have been painting for a long time and I still haven't figured it all out. Definitely not. Maybe that'll be my kryptonite for all time. She can't mix her paint right. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab the larger brush again so I can carry this color downwards. So same exact thing, except I'm gonna take this a little bit farther down. So I'll start down below, and then I wanna get that color tinting my brush as soon as possible. And you see this difference in those colors, just really warm. I love that cerulean. The mini-series painting comes with all the primaries, and then it also comes with this gorgeous aqua color that I'm obsessed with. We had someone email us saying, hey, I've been meaning to paint my whole bathroom that color. Where do I get it? And I would love to go see a room that's been painted with that color all over it. So that comes with a kit, and it's not what I'm using right now. I'm using cerulean, but that aqua is so pretty. Turquoise is just the best. So that winter scene also that we are kind of obsessed with is just winter scenes that aren't the normal. They're not ones that are only blues and of trees or mountains or anything like that. We really want to design something that is way more experimental and way more interesting. So here I'm just trying to get rid of any striping of color changes. So I kind of wiped out anything that was super obviously the dark up top, and then my long brush strokes from edge to edge of the canvas are going to help that kind of wipe out any gradation that wasn't soft. This is a little too perfect, so I'm gonna go ahead and change up the shape a little bit. I don't want a perfect hill, no one wants that. Sweep downwards. Okay, and then I'm gonna do more white, but I wanna get some of that blue off first. All right, picking up some pure white. There's some blue on my canvas already, so it's gonna pick that up. And then this color, I want to take at least like 3/4 of the way down, maybe about halfway. And that'll be a good backdrop for any trees that don't happen to go up all the way. I'll let you at least have a little bit of blue rather than blank canvas. So if you ever get those paintbrush strokes that you they keep cutting into the paint like that, in order to get that blend, you want to go from side to side of your canvas and drag it the whole way off the edges and everything, and that's going to stop those from gouging. Okay, just about done. And then we're gonna do some trees. And I'll do another dry break. Again, normally in our paint and sip, we'll give you an actual break. But this is just for funsies. If you guys follow along though, I would love to see what you create. You can email us, info@uncorkedcanvas, or just tag us in your Facebook or Instagram photos. We would love to see what you've done. All right, I'm gonna add a little bit of blue along the edges here. Just kind of do a little bit of framing action. All right, and then my last dry break. 1 second and I'll be back. All right, so for the next step, I'm gonna do some trees. I'm gonna use my pointed round brush here. I'm gonna get that wet first. I'm gonna do a couple different layers of trees. I'm gonna do kind of this big bulk of trees in the background. Then I'll do a couple that kind of sit in front here with a little bit more detail. Now these are gonna be kind of a gray with some blue tint to it. So what I'm gonna do is pick up some white, and my black is much stronger, so I wanna slowly add little bits of that in. And then either blue will work, but I'm gonna pull in my cerulean. I still want this to be kind of a dark gray because I'm going to put some snow on top, and so it should be dark enough for that kind of pop off top of that. All right, I'm twirling the brush to make sure there's no weird pockets of color in there. Stir that all in, and then to get it back to its original shape, I'm just going to kind of swirl the extra paint out of it, and I'll get it kind of back to its shape. I don't need it to be very precise for this first step. So I want this hillside of trees to kind of start over here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and draw kind of the base of them first and kind of sketch that out. And I don't need to be worried too much about this white over here. There'll be plenty of trees to cover that up. Hillside here. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of just bulk in really messy forest in the background, and then I'll be way more precise with any trees in the foreground. So this is gonna look more like I'm painting kind of grass or something that's way more loose than actual trees. So my max height, I'm gonna go ahead and just do, kind of sketch out how high I want this to be at the very highest so I don't go above that. And I'm kind of doing just tree trunks. And I'm just gonna get it shorter as I go over to the left. And then when I start on these trees, I'll go ahead and start on the left so I don't drag my hand through them. What I'll do is I'll kind of start pointed at the top, and then I'll start to kind of increase the pressure as I go down until they get bulked out at the bottom, and then I'll just kind of do a sweeping action to kind of fill those in. So this is gonna be really messy. They're not gonna look quite like trees, but I'm kind of pouncing as I go down, a little bit of pouncing, and that'll make them look like there's at least a little bit of texture back there. And you want it to be kind of solid at the very bottom of them. And just vary the height and distance from each other, and that'll do the deed. This is that zone out place, just trying to get this all filled in. It's kind of a meditative zone out, paint some little trees. Show background music. How do you do that without being copyright? We'll look into that for next time. All right, and then I'm just gonna fill in this whole area here because I know what's gonna happen and it's less work later. All right, and then all the way to the edges. And then I'll go ahead and fill in these trees. I'm kind of pushing a little bit harder for these, making them a little bit chunkier, maybe like closer. I know last time I said this was the last blow dry break. I don't know why I said that. I knew that wasn't true. I'm gonna do one more blow dry break because the trees in front of this are going to be darker and I don't want them to mix in. So I'm gonna do one last little blow dry break and I'll be back in 1 second. Okie dokie. So now we're gonna do some taller trees in the foreground. I'm gonna grab my medium-sized brush for that. And I'm gonna go ahead and darken my color, pretty much like blue and black together. So you can do cerulean. I'm gonna do both blues, just for funsies. I'm gonna pull in a little bit of black. Okay, and then I want to get all of the extra paint pressed out of here so that it goes back to its narrow size. I'm just gonna draw the tree trunks one more time. And then Brad told me that Diana is watching us. Hi, Diana. I'm so glad to not see you, but see you online. Happy 2021. Hope to see you at the studio very soon. All right, I'm gonna start with some trees. They can kind of go wherever you want them. And thanks for everyone for tuning in to our first. I know we can't see you, but we feel you. We really appreciate you. All right, and I'm gonna just kind of do some random tree trunks. And these are gonna dip down into my actual white snow this time. Because they are closer to us, so they should go all the way down. That one got a little crazy. We'll fix that. And then again, I'm gonna start on the left, and with these trees, I'm gonna keep them a little sparse. If I need to add more, I can. I'm gonna start on the left-hand side. And what I do is I start at the top of the tree trunk. And the pointed brush might actually be better for this. We'll try it with this guy first. I'm gonna start at the top and take the corner of my brush and start kind of bouncing and pushing downwards, sweeping to the sides and kind of doing this almost zigzag action going downwards. So kind of sweep back and forth on either side of that tree. And that first tree is always a bit of a disaster, but once you get more of them, it definitely always looks nicer. And because they're sitting in the snow, I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of flatten the bottom of them. Now it is on a hillside though, so I kind of want to flatten them at a bit of an angle here. So I'm just gonna kind of give myself a little sketch so I don't go too far. I'm just gonna go ahead and do that at the angle of the hillside. Otherwise, I'll just go crazy. So again, I take the corner, just do a couple pieces up top, and I'm gonna increase the pressure of my brush as I go down, as well as the distance of my brush stroke. So you can even take this and kind of stamp on the actual length of the brush stroke, the brush, the bristle itself, and that can be some of your shorter ones. And just make sure you don't cover up everything. You wanna see some of your background still shining through. I've been told I paint trees too quickly, so at least there's a few of these for you guys to watch if you're planning to paint this. seeing it happen is definitely easier than doing it. So we send paper and everything for you guys in your kits, so you can always practice on the paper before committing it to a canvas. Alright, so this little wonky one, let's go ahead and just have it come down a little bit straighter. Don't know what happened there. Maybe I sneezed and didn't realize it. Once the snow goes on top of these two, it'll hide a lot of our sins, I think. Snow covers up. Even junkyards look beautiful when they're covered in snow. That's what we'll say anyway. Okay. One more tree, maybe. So all those trees in the background got all covered up, so you want to know that you don't have to fixate on all of the things. A lot of them just are meant to be a little bit of filler. Maybe we'll have Diana come in and teach one of these, or all of them. Diana's an amazing teacher and painter. She should come in and do these. What am I doing here? Okay, gotta keep it simple. I want to keep going on it, but I want to keep it simple first, and then we can always layer on top. So the trees on the left are almost dry, so I'm gonna go ahead and take advantage of that and start on the snow. And I don't want it to be pure white snow on those because they're not getting like sunlight directly on them. So I'm going to tint them just a little bit. It's going to be using the same kind of blue and gray color, but mostly white still. What's fun about this layer on top is you can always just paint it out if you decide a piece of snow doesn't really work for you. Just wipe it out like it never happened. Okay, we're gonna start with that, maybe a little bit more blue. All right, and then this one's kind of chunky brush for maybe this little detail. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of clean it out, rinse out a lot of that extra color. And then I'm gonna water down this paint so that I don't have to pick up as much of it to the work, so I can keep the brush small. So I'll kind of twirl out all the extra, try to get it back to its point. And then I can go in and start doing details. So I'm gonna kind of follow the top of the branches that we just put in there, as well as some pieces kind of in the front. So just kind of start doing a little sweeping, and you don't wanna cover up a ton of what you just did. So just kind of generally follow some of those. The first tree is gonna look funky. Just go with it. I want bluer and brighter. With these colors, especially when you're trying them layering on top of other things, a lot of times you gotta test it out first and see how it goes. You can always change things up. The first tree always looks funky, so just kind of keep going. And again, I'm just kind of following the top of some of these branches, but then we're not seeing the branches that are coming at us or coming in the front of the tree. So kind of pretend like there are some there. Go ahead and put some snow kind of all the way around like that. And again, don't cover up everything. We just want little pieces that got a little snow on top. And we want drama in this painting. We want to see the shadows and the dramatic pieces in there. So don't cover it all up.
So Diana thinks you should teach watercolor too.
Watercolor would be fun. I haven't taught watercolor in years. I think Diana could teach watercolors. So I went a little farther with the snow than I wanted over here. I'm not going to try to nitpick too much. Less is more. It's a lesson I still need to learn. I wonder if we could do watercolor kits and send them home with people. Might be able to travel better than acrylics can because they don't really dry out. Watercolors are fun because they reconstitute when you add water to them, so they can dry out and then they can come right back. Acrylics, once they're dry, they're gone. They are plastic. They cease to be. So I hope you put them in the place you want them before they dry out. Okay, I'm gonna leave it simple like that. I'm just gonna do a little bit of shadows underneath them. Maybe highlight some of the snow around. And then that'll be a nice, simple winter scene. So I'll go ahead and clean out that brush, pick up some pure white. I'm just gonna kind of get underneath them, around them, and just kind of pop that white. The canvas has a slight color to it because it's a natural natural cotton. So it's always going to be a little bit less than pure white. So I like to go in and just kind of give it a little fresher. And then if you wanted to, you could add little shadows underneath the trees here, shadows in the snow. Some nice depth in there, so they're not just snow, but they've got a little bit of shadow, a little bit of interest, a little drama. The only place I want drama in my life is in my paintings. Okay, now if you're feeling really crazy, I mean, there's no clouds, so I don't know about falling snow, but falling snow would look pretty. What's your vote, Brad? Falling snow or not? Yeah, falling snow? Let's do it. All right, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna keep that simple for that. Snow always makes things happy. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the end of the brush, I'm gonna put it into my white, I'm gonna pick up a little bit of that white and start putting dots of varying pressure. This looks like stars if you don't take it down farther, so be careful. I just did a whole row exactly, precisely lined up, so we gotta mess that up. All right. Try to get little pieces in there. If one gets a little crazy, you can just kind of smear it with your finger if you want to. Make sure you get some in front of your trees. It wouldn't avoid them. Snow always makes everything happier, huh? I think what I want to do for a future one is, you know, you have your fans pick your makeup look or something like that. I want to do it where people in the comments pick how I paint and what colors I do and what I paint and stuff like that. What should I add next? Your votes. It'd be really fun to see what you guys create and make me create, but that means you created it. I think that'd be fun. Let me know what you think in the comments. I think that could be really fun. And it would be a fun challenge for me. I think that would be really exciting because you guys should tell me like really random stuff and I have to make it look like it's like a real painting, and that'd be really fun. And challenging. Very challenging. I'll have to figure out how to set that up. That'd be cool. It'd be really cool. And Diana would make sure to tell me the most random colors. Paint a ladybug in blue. Which I think is maybe a real thing. Okay, almost done. I always like to go a little crazy with snow. It's hard to know when to stop that. Okay, do you feel like that's enough? Is that good? Okay. All right, always when you're done, wipe off the handle on your paper towel before you put it into your water. Otherwise your sleeve or something else gets caught in there. I've done it, don't do it. Clean it out. All right. So that's the last step to this little masterpiece. Thank you guys so much for going live with me today, or in the future when you guys see this recorded. I had a lot of fun making this little painting for you. And next time it's going to be a paint and sip event. We'll let you know what painting ahead of time. We'll tell you what supplies, or we'll have a kit ready to go, one or the other, and we'll let you know what to do. And that should be scheduled first time next week, and we're really excited. See you then. Bye-bye.